Hi everyone, Bandanner here, and a warm welcome back to the open beta, and also a warm welcome back to the RTS Cast and Stuff channel. Remember to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Bit of a competition going on between the Broken Arrow fans and the 1-0 fans to see who can give the most subscribers. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Infantry tab of this deck, following on from the Recon tab. So in here we have the Cait Dragon squad. They are a larger anti-tank squad than most, obviously a bit of a shorter range than some, but they are well equipped with 6 M16 rifles, 2 M2 Browning heavy machine guns, and 2 M47 Dragon 3s, which mean they can fire 2 missiles at a time, up to 6 in total available to them. They are a shorter range at only 800 meters though. However, they do have a reasonable 750mm of heat penetration, so they are pretty effective. There's some debate with this as to whether they are a top attack profile. I believe someone asked about this in a previous comment on the other channel. In real life, from what I can see, they do not have a top-down attack profile. They simply are a direct attack and will fire at the front side rear armor if that's what they're targeted at. I don't know if in the game they have more of a top-down attack action. They certainly don't have a specific top-down attack icon, which means they don't always hit top armor. I'm led therefore to believe that they are probably direct attack, but maybe the missile can look like it's going up a little bit when it's launched. But I think it mainly will hit front side or rear armor. Don't quote me on it, but I certainly couldn't find anything to the contrary on the official Discord. So, bigger squad, good anti-tank squad, a bit shorter range, perhaps good in a building supporting maybe the Mech Rifle AA squad, or indeed the tow launcher squad for this particular division matchup or this particular battle group. They have a couple of options for their transport vehicle, the MTVR, which is just a truck. This can have an armor upgrade, which means that it can no longer carry supply. So at the moment, 7,000 supply. If we upgrade it, it can only carry people. That is the penalty for the armor upgrade, and why I believe it is free. It can have a defensive weapon package, either a machine gun, a heavy machine gun, or a grenade launcher. I tend to bring it in as cheap as possible personally, just because I want just a cheap option for transport. The other option here is a vehicle I quite like, which is the AAVP 7A1. This is an amphibious vehicle, but the thing I love about it is its anti-infantry capability. It is very good at clearing buildings, having both an M2 Browning machine gun and also a Mark 19 automatic grenade launcher. It is really effective, kept at 800 meter range, at ripping through infantry and buildings, mostly because it's also out of range of their anti-tank. Pretty good unit in my opinion. I actually love having these in the deck, even if it's just a couple to come in with the Marines. Next infantry squad, a very large squad of 14 men, are the Marine Raiders, a very effective squad with 2 different loadouts. Their door kickers loadout makes them extremely efficient at clearing buildings. They come with 8 Mark 18 close quarters combat battle rifles. They come with 6 Laws, which have the HE explosive warhead with a blast radius 26, making them more effective against infantry. They also come with some shotguns and also some automatic grenade launchers. So, reasonably automatic, I should say. They obviously are mag-fed, so they can fire off quite a few fast rounds of grenades. Basically, a very good squad at clearing infantry out of buildings. That's what they're designed for, and they have the equipment to do it. The other option is 20 points more and is the standoff variation. They get 10 of those Mark 18s. They get a single MAAWS, which is a 450mm heat penetration round. It can't fire at infantry as it is a shaped charge designed for vehicles and helicopters. They come with the M110K1, which is a sniper rifle, and they also come with a Mark 48 machine gun, which also has a scope on it, which I think is more just to look cool because its effective range is still only 450 meters, whereas that's 600. So it's got a scope, but it's just to make it look cool, I think. I will note these guys can be power dropped in. Not every infantry squad, you will note, has the power drop symbol. So just something to bear in mind. Next up are the Marines. The Marines are a locked squad. There are no other loadouts. They're a 13-man squad. They come with 13 M27 IARs. They come with 3 M320 grenade launchers. These are single-shot grenade launchers. You load a grenade, you fire it. You load a grenade, you fire it. So it's a little bit different to the ones that are sort of mag-fed or the drum mag, etc. And then they also have 6 AT4s. Bit of a mixed squad, somewhat effective against infantry, somewhat effective against light vehicles. Not going to be super effective against tanks though, but you know, can hold their own. They're kind of a filler line infantry squad. There's not much more to say about them. I tend to try and bring a few in if I have space in a deck, just cause, as I say, they're just good fillers, but obviously they're not as effective as the Marine Raiders. Mech Engineers. A 6-man squad designed for anti-infantry combat more than anything else. They have 6 M4A1s, 2 shotguns, and 4 Smore Ds. The Smore D has a HE explosive warhead designed to do damage to vehicles and infantry, but they have a big blast radius of 34, making them very effective against infantry, and to be fair, a reasonable penetration of 200 millimeters of heat, because a lot of these usually only have like 60 heat penetration, so they're slightly better than some. Options for their vehicles are a little bit different. They have the option of the M113A3, which we've seen before in the Recon tab. Nothing special, it's a box on tracks, it's reasonably fast at 70, can have the slat and smoke armor upgrade if you're feeling so inclined, and can upgrade from a heavy machine gun to a Mark 19 grenade launcher. I don't tend to bring this in, it's just a box. There are other boxes which are a better option. For example, perhaps better than that one would be the M1283 AMPV, just because of the other options it gets. It's the same speed. Its armor upgrade can be up to reactive armor, which is a lot better than just the slat armor. And it gets various other weapon upgrades, including the Mark 19 grenade launcher, a Bushmaster autocannon effective against vehicles, infantry and helicopters when it comes to the heat round. I will note there was a question or a comment about these rounds in the previous video for Recon. So in real life, they're considered high explosive, I think, rather than heat specifically. Please note that in game, pretty much everything is modeled as either heat penetration or kinetic penetration, obviously for gameplay reasons, so this is technically classed as a heat round with 30 millimeters of heat penetration, and its blast radius is only 4, making it less effective against infantry than, say, a grenade from one of the grenade launchers. It can also be upgraded, as we've seen before in the Recon tab, to the Bushmaster and the Javelin. I still don't think it's a great option for vehicles, in terms of transport vehicles, but, you know, they are there. They are boxes. Other options here include the M2A2 Bradley ESV, which is exactly the same as the M2A2 Bradley, really. The salient difference being the BLAM missile set, which we'll talk about in a second. And obviously it has the plow on the front, which doesn't do anything in the game, but in real life would push mines out the way or other obstacles. So here it gets the Bushmaster, as we've discussed. It also has an M240 machine gun, and it has BLAM, which is a TOW BB missile. The TOW BB missile is a high explosive or heat round with only 75 millimeters of heat penetration. However, it also has a rather big blast radius of 20, and it can target infantry. So once again, because these are engineers, and engineers in the game are generally treated as anti-infantry, they have an anti-infantry capable vehicle, with the TOW BB being an anti-infantry missile that can also target light vehicles, but it's not going to do anything to a tank. Protection system here can have a jammer, or it can have the standard busk upgrade for armor. The better option perhaps is the M2A3, which you can upgrade the engine package to the M2A4 version, which means that it comes in with that extra speed. It can have the Iron Fist active protection system rather than just a jammer. And it can have up to Busk 3 reactive armor and not just the standard Busk. Still comes with the Bushmaster, the M240, and the Blam anti-infantry missile. So, lots of options. I think this is quite a fun vehicle. I've not managed to use it a lot against infantry, because 90% of the time I feel like I'm engaging tanks. But, you know, I have put it in a couple of decks. Mech Rifles, a 6-man squad in this game, not a huge squad. They come with an M4A1, an M203 underslung grenade launcher on one of those guns, an M249 E3 machine gun, and 4 AT4 launchers. A very general line infantry squad with no particular specialty. I'm not a huge fan of this squad in this game. I don't think they're great. They're just bog standard. There are other squads that can do this job better. The only salient difference is they're quite cheap. But I don't tend to jump on these. I'd rather take some Marines or the Marine Raiders, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. I will note that they get the same vehicles as above. However, the Bradley, instead of coming with the Blam, is a standard Bradley and therefore comes with the TOW-2A anti-tank missile. This is a direct attack missile with 900mm of heat penetration. A good vehicle for standing at distance away from enemy tanks and engaging with that TOW-2 missile. Can be quite scary to have a few of those coming at you, but obviously not the most heavily armoured vehicle in the game. And the M2A3 version, which can again get that engine upgrade to make it the M2A4. So, no real change there in vehicles. The next squad is probably one of the most important squads here, which is the Mech Rifleman AA squad. Unlike the standard mech rifles, they come with a Stinger missile launcher, an anti-air launcher. They are your only infantry manpad anti-air option in this deck. They come with 5 M4A1s, a single Stinger with 3 missiles, so not a lot of missiles going on here. A single M203 grenade launcher underslung, and then an M249. This squad is a must for me, at least bringing in a few of them, because I like putting them in buildings up at the front lines and letting them deal with any helicopters that come in. Unlike the LAV AD, air defense variant of the LAV, for example, they're not susceptible to anti-tank missiles from those helicopters, therefore they have a bit more staying power. But obviously they run out of missiles very quickly. It's something you need to bear in mind, but I think they're a must-have squad in this deck personally. Then you have the Mech Rifle MMG squad, so it's again a 6-man squad. They have the M4A1 and they have 2 heavy machine guns, the M40. Or the M240, I should say. I mean, the thing is with these, I say heavy machine gun, they're a medium machine gun. I don't know why I called it a heavy machine gun. The 240 is a medium machine gun. They are not a great squad, in my opinion. I mean, they've got some machine guns, but really, again, there are other options in this deck that are better equipped. For example, and I know they're more expensive, the Dragon team have 2 M2 Brownings. I feel like the Mech Rifles are lost a little bit in this deck, other than the Mech Rifle AA and maybe the Engineers, because they're not bringing anything special to the table other than the fact they're a bit cheaper. But I just never feel like I want to jump on them in this. Again, same transport vehicles. And then we have the Smore. The Smore here has the M16A4 rifle and the Smore launcher. This is an 84mm quote-unquote dual-purpose HE weapon, I believe. But basically it can hit infantry, vehicles and helicopters. It has a pretty big blast radius and it has that 200mm of heat penetration, the same as we saw from the Mech Rifle Engineers basically. So similar kind of warhead really. Good against infantry, and that's what I use this squad for. If I bring these guys in, they're a 4-man squad, I use them for clearing buildings. and they're a reasonably cheap squad for that, and you do get the option of bringing them in the Humvee because they're a small squad. So a nice cheap option which just gets an armor upgrade. I'm never really fussed about upgrading the Humvee's armor, but I think the small squad's not bad just for how effective it is at clearing out infantry. And last but not least is the tow team. They only get one tow launcher with them. They come as a 4-man squad. They can come in the Humvee again as a transport option because of that. They get the tow 2 and they get 3 M16A4s. The tow 2 does technically have an upgrade option because you can change the squad loadout. The standard gets the tow 2A, which is just a standard direct attack missile, 900mm of heat penetration as we've seen before, but it does have another option, the tow 2B top attack missile. So this technically is considered a kinetic penetrator, so it does 80mm of kinetic penetration. As you'll know, top armor on vehicles tends to be very low, so this is going to do a lot of damage. This is a guaranteed top attack. So the way this thing works in real life is it flies directly above its target, and you can find videos of it on YouTube, and it explodes above the target and fires stuff down on top of the target, damaging it through the top of the hull or the top of the turret, whatever it's hitting. So very effective at doing that, always guarantees a top attack. So unlike some of the other weapons, which, for example, the Javelin, which can be fired either in a top attack mode or direct fire at a closer range, the tow 2B is a guaranteed top attack damage every time. Hence, it has that symbol. That is how it is coded in the game. That's why it has the top attack armor symbol. And obviously, it can only fire at vehicles. And there we go. That is everything in the infantry deck in a bit more detail. Not quite as much to talk about here because we don't need to talk about the whole recon and laser sighting and stuff like that. But obviously, lots of options here. For me, the mech rifles are definitely not a mainstay that I take in this deck, other than the anti-air. The Dragon teams have some advantages, but they're expensive. But they're a big anti-tank squad. The Marine Raiders, exceptionally good at clearing buildings. The Marines, probably the best standard line infantry just because they're such a big squad. They have a bit more survivability, at least in buildings. Obviously, if they're caught out in the open, they still get ripped apart. Mech Rifle Engineers, or the Mech Engineers, to some extent very good against infantry. Would I take them over the Smore team? That's very debatable, to be honest. I think the Smore team are, pretty good themselves. The standard mech rifles, no. I think the Marines do a better job of what they're trying to do. The mech rifle AA must in any division or any build for me because I want access to the Stinger missile on a manpad team. The mech rifle MMG, not particularly fussed about that. The Small team, I quite like. And obviously the Saber team or the Tow team, yeah, I tend to bring them because they're good for locking down an area. Just bear in mind they're a small squad, so once the building starts getting hit and artilleried, they die pretty quick, so you got to keep an eye on them. There you go, the infantry tab of the American deck. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope this was helpful, talking through these and looking through all of the weapons in a little bit more detail than we did in the basics video. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all soon.